Hey, how's it going? Another PowerPoint. This one's Cultural Coherence and Diversity. There will not be a quiz on this. However, uh, you need to know this for the upcoming test, which will be on Friday, October 25th. Uh, this one, the previous one about human geography, and the one before that about physical geography in North America, there will not be any quizzes on them, mostly because my computer was messing up until today. So I got it figured out, but you still need to watch these. You still need to get them in your brain so you can be prepared for the test coming up. It's very important that you do those things. So enjoy the show. Hope you like the hat. See y'all. Pluralism. Okay. Pluralism, when it pertains to us, is the fact we, as the United States, as the North American continent, are reaching out and affecting the entire world. Okay. The North American geography is both globally dominant, meaning it sticks out globally, the physical thing you see on a map, and also internally pluralistic, which means separate. Okay, so we're dominant in the world, and internally we are pluralistic or separate. Many people outside the United States, other countries, speak of this term called cultural imperialism, in which it's describing the global dominance of our American culture around the world. Okay, and the fact of the matter is that our culture here in America is seeping into and taking over other cultures in other countries. It's a pretty interesting thing. Okay, we take culture from other places, and it's not necessarily a dominant thing here, but our culture is seeping into others around the world and becoming very dominant. That's called cultural imperialism. Okay, no difference than if it's imperialism when we're trying to take over places physically. This is a cultural takeover, so to speak. Where is the mouse? Okay, hold on. Some examples right here. We got McDonald's. All right. I don't speak this language, but it looks like some kind of a Japanese or Chinese somewhere in the Asian market. But that's McDonald's, live from America. This right here, if you look at the billboard, you can see that's Coca-Cola. Okay, that's Coca-Cola, obviously in a Spanish-speaking language, I believe. Could be wrong. Fantasyland, you can see here, sold somewhere else. And then Walmart, you can see these by the license plates, not in America. So these pictures right here should give some backing to that statement about cultural imperialism, which our culture is taking over many places. Okay, these pictures kind of show that. Shifting patterns of pluralism. The interesting thing about this is that while our culture is taking over other places or other cultures in other places, we have people here who still maintain or retain a lot of their traditional cultural identities, which is a pretty kind of special thing, kind of a cool thing if you think about it. As our culture is reaching out to many countries and taking over their traditional cultures here within our own in North America, we have people who are trying to maintain or keep part of their traditional cultural identities alive. Here are some pictures. We have a couple walking with an American flag and a Mexican flag draped around them. That is still trying to hold on to their identity. Chinatown in San Francisco, or Chinatown in New York. Little Italy in New York, trying to bring a piece of home to their new place. Okay, that's trying to maintain their cultural identity. Pretty cool thing if you think about it. Our cultural identity here in the North American continent basically is similar for us and the Canadians, that both of our ties go back to Great Britain. And because of that, our political and social values, including our types of government and the idea of separating church and state and privacy and all the other things that we've had over the years that our founding fathers kind of put forth in the Constitution and Declaration of the Constitution, things of that nature, all tie back into Great Britain. Okay, that's because that's where we have our ties to. That's where we kind of came from, so to speak, as a country. The roots of it, us separating. We have the revolution here in America. 1776, and the Confederation of Canada both allowed us to separate from British control. But while we separated, we still maintained a lot of the things, a lot of the values, a lot of the culture that they brought to us. I mean, let's be honest. In America, we were the British at some point, a lot of us, okay? And then from then on, we became Americans, but we still had strong ties to the British, whether it be family, through years of generations of being here. We all kind of go back to that area. Consumer culture of the 1920s, mass advertising, movies, radio, television, and a society oriented toward convenience and consumption produced a set of shared experiences and aided in North American cultural imperialism. Okay, so while we have our roots of identity back in the days of the Revolution, as time passed on, we have these new ways of now spreading our identity, our culture around the world through the things I just mentioned. And here are some examples. Mass advertising on the left. How's your breath today? Make sure you keep your breath clean so you can kiss your beautiful woman every day. That's what that's telling you right there. Movies, Billy the Kid comes around. Radio, which is big. Became a big thing before these things that we have called televisions. People used to listen to the radio to get all their information. Pretty weird thing, huh? There is some drawback to trying to keep your ethnic identity, so to speak, and that's Chinatown, Little Italy, Harlem, things mentioned here. When people try to keep their identity, sometimes tensions are raised if one is either intentionally or unintentionally disrespecting another. That's when you have issues pop up, and those tend to happen from time to time. Here's another map of Manhattan. Okay, all the little areas boxed off, little neighborhoods. Okay, here we got Chinatown, the southern part of Manhattan, and right to the north of it, Little Italy. So there's going to be times where they're going to kind of buck up against each other, whether it be intentional or unintentional, and maybe be misunderstanding, but you're going to have some issues from time to time. Maybe not as much now as back in the day. And here, Harlem, northern part of Manhattan. Okay, you may know what this is right here. This is the Apollo Theater, one of the more famous landmarks in Harlem. So you'll have those issues when you have people trying to maintain their identity in certain areas, and whether it be intentional or unintentional, things sometimes flare up because of that. Migration. Migration has changed immensely over the years. Global scale migrations have made possible the North America as we know it today. And you can see by this map, it dates back to 1820, 1830, immigration to the United States. Okay, from 1820 to 2010, you can see it steady rise, drop significantly, and then rises again way up in 2010. Okay, sometimes these drops can be explained by wars, the Great Depression, anything like that, a large famine or whatever. These things can explain the lack of immigration or migration from place to place. You're not going to go someplace where there's battles happening, or financially you can't afford it. So that can explain some of those dips. Just kind of like population pyramids. There's explanations of why things or population decreases at certain times. Phase 1 of migration before 1820, mostly English coming over here, and African slaves. Okay, in the late 1700s, there were more African slaves coming over here than Europeans themselves. Okay, so before 1820, phase 1, it's mostly the English and African slaves coming to the United States or to the Americas. Phase 2, 1820, 1870, your Northwest Europeans start arriving in mass amounts. Reasons why: the potato famine in Ireland brought a lot of Irish over here. Okay, and then the Germans came. Those are two big population groups during this time period that came over to the United States. Phase 3, 1870, 1920, Your Southern and Eastern Europeans start to arrive. Italians, the Poles, Russians, and Hungarians start heading this way. Phase 4, 1920, 1970, Canadians and Latin Americans come up into the United States. Numbers decreased in migrations, and again, here are the reasons why. I just showed you a few minutes ago. Great Depression, World War II are big ones, and also you have immigration policies, and the government kind of steps in and tries to limit immigration opportunities or abilities. These policies are put in place, and therefore stricter, and some people can't come over here anymore. Phase 5, since 1970, more arrivals than the early 1900s. So this is where numbers really increase. Immigration laws loosen up. Economic and political instability happens around the world, causing people to leave. And then we see a lot more of the Asian population coming to North America. And here's a map of the phases. Phase 1, 2, and 3 from Europe. Here they all come in mass amounts. Phase 4, coming down from Canada up. Okay, from Mexico, Central and South America. And here's our last phase, Phase 5, coming in. This is where the Asians tend to be coming more to America. Today, 25% of the United States immigrants are from Mexico. Okay, 60% of Hispanics in the United States are Mexican. Okay, so that's where most of our population numbers come from as far as immigration is concerned. Mexico is the leading country in having immigrants come over. The other group besides Hispanics are the Asian immigrants. It's one of the faster growing groups. Most move to large cities, LA, San Fran, New York. There are millions and millions of Asians, but they tend to move other places. But the big cities, the big markets, seem to be the destination for many Asian immigrants. Immigration to Canada, the French were the first kind to arrive, come in mass numbers. They mostly settled in the St. Lawrence Valley, Quebec area, 600,000 by the mid-1700s. After 1765, the British, the Irish, and the Americans start to head that way, some Americans. And then 1900, 1920, you got 3 million coming from Eastern Europe. Today, 60% are Asian. 60% are Asian. 44% of the people born in Toronto are foreign born, or not foreign, born. That doesn't make sense. 44% of the people in Toronto are foreign born. Born somewhere else other than Toronto, outside of the country. Mostly European. In Vancouver, which is on the western part of the very west side of Canada, 38% are foreign born, where most of those who are born out of the country are born in Asia.